In this project, we're going to make something called a Droposcope. This is an object that will allow us to explore our world in kind of a really cool and simple way with very low cost materials. We're in fact going to be able to look at what's inside of a droplet of water. And you can see right here, I actually have a syringe of creek water that I collected here on Bullis campus, and when we've assembled this, we're going to find out what's in this little bit of creek water. So what we need are these wooden parts. These are the parts that will go together to make the Droposcope. We have a laser pointer, we have some batteries for the laser pointer, and we have a little bit of quick dry tacky glue, and of course my pond water. So what we're going to do to start is, this is the base of our Droposcope. You'll notice you might find that there's little pieces of the cutout areas that are still there. We could just sort of pop that out with our finger so that we get our nice little holes that we need here. Now, essentially, what we're going to do is these two parts are going to hold our syringe, and they're going to go up in this sort of the head part of this gooseneck shape. And then we have two other pieces. Everything is in pairs except for these two. You'll notice one of them, this one, has much larger little bits sticking out the side here. That it actually matters where we're going to put that. The other ones, it doesn't actually matter whether we put them on the left or the right or the top and the bottom. But just be aware that this piece with the wider side pieces needs to go in a particular spot to help our design work better. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take one of our side pieces, and we're going to take one of these with the bigger circle in it, and we're going to fit it into these holes and press down. It'll slot in there pretty tightly. And then we'll do the other one in the spots underneath. So now I have these two pieces nice and tight right there. I'm going to take this other part with the smaller bits, and he's going to go right here in the neck, and this spot is going to fit nicely on him. And I am putting this little notch at the top of the circle up, because when I put my laser pointer in here, I want to have enough room that the little button can slide in there if I need to. Some of these things are tight, but as you use them, they'll kind of loosen up a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to take my other piece with the wider bits, and I'm going to slide it in here. Now you'll notice that this slot is a little extra big, and that's so that we can move this thing up and down to adjust it if we need to. I can slide it down, or I can slide it up. For some of these, you may want to wiggle them a little bit just to loosen them up. Now I'm going to lay that flat, and now I'm going to put the top on it, or I should say the other side. And for this, I'm going to get everything lined up, and then I'm going to squeeze it together. And I'll line these up as well. And squeeze it together. And don't be afraid to ask for help if you're having trouble squeezing, because these are laser cut wood. Some will be tighter than others. Some will be a little bit loose, some will be a little bit tight. But they all should work just fine. Now the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it into the base in these four little slots. And I'll start with one and then just push down into the other slots. I'll look on the bottom here. Might have to push things around a little bit till I get them just nice and lined up. Squeeze everything together. So there is my Droposcope, and you'll see mine's pretty tight. The pieces fit together very tightly, so I could probably get away without using any glue on this, but I'm going to go ahead and glue it anyway, and particularly down here at the base. And so what I'm going to use is some of this quick dry tacky glue. Tacky glue is great because it'll allow things to stick together very quickly, and then the quick dry version, it takes about 20 minutes for this to dry. So, you know, in that 20 minutes might be the perfect time to go collect your syringe full of creek water. With this glue, we just take the cap off, and if it hasn't been used yet, you're going to get some scissors and snip off the very tip of the nozzle, and that will give us opening for the glue. The one thing that's kind of tricky about this glue, I love this glue, but these caps get lost very easily. So it's really helpful if after you've used it, you just make sure to go ahead and put the cap back on, because if we lose the cap, that glue will start to dry out. So always hold on to the cap, put it back on when you're done. And I'm just going to run a small line of glue along the base there and along the base there. If yours was a little bit looser, you could put a little drop of glue here and over here, just in case these pieces were a little bit loose, and then cap on. So, like I said, that's going to take about 20 minutes to dry. It would be a perfect time to go collect your syringe of creek water. The other thing that we need to do is we need to put the batteries in our laser pointers. These are very simple little laser pointers, and what we're going to do is unscrew the back. And we have 3 of these little batteries. They're called button cell batteries. And what we want is to find the flat surface that has the plus on it. And that plus is going to face up. So I'm just going to drop it down into the tube of the laser pointer with the plus facing up. Do 1, number 2, and number 3. And then we're going to kind of push it down and screw the back of our laser pointer back on. You got to kind of work it a little bit to get that threading to go in properly, but we want it to be nice and tight, and we can see that my laser pointer is working. Now this laser pointer has a button that if you press it once, it'll turn off. If you press it once again, it'll turn on. And so that's kind of nice because we don't want to have to sit with our Droposcopes and hold the laser pointer on the entire time. It is very important. Laser pointers have these little warning labels. Mine got a little scratch there. That you should never point this towards somebody's eyes. The odds that you would do damage is small, but it is a possible outcome. And so it's really important not to just play around with these things and end up pointing it towards somebody's face where it could go into their eye and cause some damage. So very important safety tip. Now to use our Droposcope, I'm going to start out by taking my syringe and I'm going to push it down into that hole. And the first time you do this, it's going to be really tight, but then it's going to sort of loosen up a little bit and then hold our syringe in there. And you can see I want it to basically stick down here. We have some adjustments that we can make to get our image that we're going to create. And then I'm going to slide my laser pointer in to these holes here so that the button is kind of in the middle of this space right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to squeeze a little drop of water and it'll just sort of hang. It's okay if a whole lot falls, but what I want is a droplet of water that's just hanging at the bottom of the syringe like that. And then I'm going to point it at a white surface. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get this all ready. I'm going to turn out the lights and we're going to see if we can see anything in my droplet of water. So here's my Droposcope all set up and projecting onto the white wall. You can see I have my laser pointer here, I have my syringe here, and there's a little droplet of water just hanging from the bottom of the syringe. The laser goes through that droplet and it spreads the light out and projects it onto the wall. And if there are things moving around inside of that droplet of water, we'll be able to see their movement on the wall. So let's go ahead and zoom in a bit. You can already see some things floating around. There's going to be bubbles, there's going to be particles. Those things will move very smoothly and evenly. If you find anything that's alive, it's going to be swimming or squirming or doing interesting things that look very much like something that's alive. And you can collect water from creeks, you can collect water from ponds, you can collect water from drainage ditches, you can collect water after a rain, you can collect water when it hasn't been raining for a long time, and see what kinds of things you might come across. So with just a few simple wooden pieces and a very inexpensive laser pointer and a syringe, you can go out and do a little exploring into the microscopic world of the water around you.